might have it laying around somewheres.
If you're a Savini fan, you need to watch it.
I'm gonna have to hit it up, I guess.
Right.
I got 2 more days left of vacation, so let's see.
Nice. All right, hey, so how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then we come back, we'll talk more. Session 9. How's that sound? Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And Janie, why do you like this movie so much? We've talked about it a little bit, but what draws you to this movie? What is it about it that you just love?
I like creepy places. Always have. I mean, it's honestly what any movie that has, like, I remember when I first saw the box for Session 9 at Hollywood Video, and I'm all like, oh, that's a wheelchair. And I'm like, that guy's in a hazmat suit. Well, this looks kind of creepy. Let me grab this. And then to find out that it was like an old abandoned asylum, I'm like, oh, this is just icing on the cake. So that's what drew me to it. And then just the initial story and the slow build up. I remember when I first watched it, I'm like, man, where is this thing going? And then by the time I got to the end, I was like, yes, this is what I like.
Because it puts you in a headlock, does it not? It really, very rarely do I watch horror films. And I know I've talked about this before. I walked around during the day and ate ice cream. But movies that just tighten the vice on you. And I think that shows the skill of Brad Anderson as a director. Because he went on to make some really excellent films. So Brad Anderson, he also made, I love The Machinist. He was in Trans-Siberian. He directed Trans-Siberian. I really dig that. He did Vanishing on 7th Street. I'm a big John Leguizamo fan, so I'll promote that whenever. But he also directed The Wire, Fringe, stuff like that. But I mean, so he saw this location. He knew, so I teach film as well. I teach production design. And it's pretty brilliant. I would never do this. But he found this place and he wrote a script around it because he knew the production design would be cheap. He knew they wouldn't need much lighting. And when they moved to the HD cameras, they just had to go in certain rooms at a certain time of day to save money on lighting. So this was all very minimal, built around one location. And you could have gotten lazy with that. You could have done a See No Evil with Kane from WWE. You could have done a slasher picture in this, and it could have been not as good. But I think with the whole combo of the Session 9, the 9 tapes, Simon, and just the characters who are genuinely likable, I would say, or relatable. It just, I don't know. You could get lazy with this. Like, if you shoot a movie in an abandoned mental institution or psychiatric place, you could get lazy because you think you're just there. Does that make sense? Yeah,
I mean, the thing I think I like the most about this movie is it's got an unsettling feeling, and it didn't. It's kind of like you said, you didn't need a slasher, a slasher going around killing people. You didn't need to see the entity of something. You didn't need the jump scares. This movie's creepiness came from the location, and just watching just every shot is done so well, and the music or the behind all of it.
Yeah.
It just all works great. And it gives it its own build up. And I think that's why I've always enjoyed it. Because I'm just like, you can watch this thing scene by scene and just still like I guess you say, that dirty feeling.
Yeah.
It just gives you this like gut wrenching like, ugh.
Does too. And he really wanted to tell a story with sound too. So when you watch it again, just the way the tapes the voices worm themselves into your ears. And just the little jump scares where he's like, hello, Gordon. And I love the sound of the generator turning on the random time. It goes for a few cheap gags, but I still love the sound design. And also, another random thing for you. They were shooting a scene on this movie on the roof. And Peter Mullan, who was also in Westworld, hey, and then she shot that. Hey, cool. But he said that he got this weird, overwhelming feeling to just jump off the roof.
Wow, that's just kind of creepy because I know okay. So like I said before in the beginning, I'm really big on like these like old asylums and stuff and like research on them. Believe it or not, I want to say there's documentation of like 2 patients jumping off the roof at different times between the opening and the closing of it. So that's kind of creepy.
Right? Yeah. I just got goosebumps. Thanks a lot. I'm not gonna
That's when I gotta go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go eat some ice cream. Triple scoop. But I love it too, and and it's funny now that you watch it because Simon calls him out in the beginning of the movie, and you're like, I don't know what that is, but now when you watch it, you're like, whoa, that's when he got hit. And so it's another movie where sometimes when you watch a horror film, I think the shocks can leave you. I think I love the Final Destination movies, and we covered the whole franchise again for the podcast. But when you've watched them a few times, it's more about, I guess, enjoying the kills, which right. I guess I don't really enjoy too much, except for 5. I love 5 and 1. Those are good. And the log truck one from 2. But this one, you can see different elements now. You can appreciate it. It's very rewatchable, I think. It still hurts you every time, but I don't know. This is the kind of movie I like, where it's good act, low budget, smart camera work, excellent cinematographer, good sound design, and it's effective on a budget. Like, these are the movies that I like teaching to my students, because as much as I love big Marvel movies, they've transcended. They make so much money. People love them. They've found a great formula. But I love teaching these little buggers that just are super effective. Does that make sense?
It does, because I think with not that they have to try harder, but I think that they hide more in them. So it's not like you're not, like you were saying, like with the Avenger movies and stuff, you're expecting the explosions and you're expecting the fight scenes and you're expecting all that. With movies like this, and this is what makes it rewatchable, is you catch little things every time you watch it. Like at the end where he's sitting in the van and Phil calls him on the walkie-talkie. There's no static, which means Phil never called him to begin with. But I did not catch that until I watched it like 2 days ago. I literally wound it back twice, and I was like, there's no static. I was like, hold on. That's just like little things like that. And that was even like, rewatching it and seeing Gordo go forward when they were going through the beginning, whenever they were showing them around. I didn't catch that until probably like the fourth or fifth time that I watched it. So there's little things just hidden throughout this film that if you catch it, it adds to the buildup.
And for movie nerds like us, when I teach stuff like this, I'm like flexing in front of my students, like, look at that scene, look at that. And I'm like, Mark, it's a 3-second moment, but I'm like, it's so good.
Did you catch it?
Yeah. Hey guys, watch this. Like, Mark, stop.
They're like, really? You're like, yes, it's important.
Now, I know that Danvers, they perfected the prefrontal lobotomy there. That's what they talked about. And the place was a self-contained town and all that. But why was Gordo doing that?
My thought process on that was, it was just something that was said to him. It was something that was introduced to him when they first walked in. That was one of the things that he pretty much told him, this place was notorious for this. Let's just say, hypothetically, Simon's been there a while, and maybe Mary wasn't the first one he's ever had to deal with, but maybe every time a lobotomy was done, that's how Simon left. You see what I'm saying? If there's no more brain activity, if there's no more will to want to do anything, because lobotomy pretty much just made them, like they said, zombies, then Simon's no longer active. So maybe that's what was happening to Simon, is like he would inhabit somebody, but as soon as they're like, hey man, we got to give this person lobotomy, Simon's like, dang, I got to find another body.
Like the thing from Azazel from Fallen, who just goes from person to person.
Which is a great movie. But yes.
I'm covering that on the podcast in a few weeks. I'm very excited. Really? Yeah, we're talking about it, so I've been watching it. And I love in Fallen they couldn't do that on this movie, but I love in Fallen how the single lit locations, just very detective-y, very not noir, but old school. It's not like lit by a single lamp. There's some really great lighting in it. And that Azazel is just a total jerk.
All time, man. All time. Through the whole movie, I just felt bad. I was just like, man.
And that guy, Elias Koteas, he does such an excellent job with the limited screen time he has. I mean, he just crushes that role. All right, well, I better not give too much away about it.
Right. You got a whole other thing for that.
But I kind of like it though that you have Gordo who's falling apart. You have there are some good red herrings in here. You have Hank Hank though. As much as I like Josh Lucas in this movie, he goes at Phil so hard about stealing his girlfriend. I mean, he
kind of a douche, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's so he steals the girlfriend and then he just goes at her, at him. That's not. And then Phil still buys him scratch-off tickets, the wrong ones. But right. I mean, but yeah, I don't know. I like how the animosity gets, and you don't even know what's gonna happen, right? If you hadn't watched a trailer for this movie, okay. Did you see a trailer for this film before you watched it? Or you just saw the DVD cover?
Yep, I was just walking around Hollywood and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to rent this.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to expect. So you're kind of wondering, there's this animosities between them and it's just Gordo. He does that weird flying kill, though, to Mike, where he sprints up behind him with the blade.
Oh yeah, God, that was like the worst. And you know what? I feel like sometimes I kind of feel bad for him too. Cause I'm thinking like, what did he really do? He was just trying to find his way out, and all of a sudden, dude just come running up on him. I'm like, oh, poor guy.
Yeah, he got lit up, but he was listening to the tapes because he didn't even unleash the tapes. Do you think that Okay, so Simon wasn't Gordo, but Josh Lucas gets kind of led to coins, and we know that he's a gambler. Hank is a gambler. We know that Jeff is afraid of the dark, and it ends up a generator going out when he's down there. Does Simon also lead these people into doing this? No?
I would say yes, because if there are flashback scenes where you see Hank and his girlfriend, who used to be Phil's girlfriend, the flashback scene, she's screaming at him. He's just sitting in the chair. He has so much, I guess, hate for or whatever to Phil, or he just wants to stick it to Phil so bad that he's willing to stay with this woman. And then you got Phil getting intoxicated at the bar. I mean, they show like everybody's like what's personally going on in everyone's life. So I think that Simon kind of played off all that. So like, I mean, I if it was a setup, I feel like who would have set the money up for Hank? Was it Phil? If Simon was in Phil, who's to say Simon really wasn't bouncing around from all of them, but poor Gordo got the worst of it.
Yeah. Wow.
See, I always thought about that too, because it's like everybody's weaknesses got played upon. Like for Phil, it was always about Hank and him taking his girlfriend. For Hank, it was about making that big money and finding that payday to get out, and I don't know, I just felt bad for Jeff because he really didn't have anything going for him.
He's so nice. He's such a nice kid. I gotta get out. I'll be right back. He says, now I was reading something here. I did some research, and I read this in the reviewing of the film for the 2003 edition of the year's best fantasy and horror. Edward Bryant contends that Simon is not necessarily an alternate personality of the former patient Mary, but rather a malevolent genius Loki, but he spells it Loci. He also points out that the deleted scenes included on the DVD help fill out the narrative, which I would maybe a little bit, but yeah, it's a demon, right? It's not like a DID, right? It's dissociative identity disorder. It's a demon in her, right? It's not the malevolent alternate personality, would you say?
No, see, I think my interpretation will always be that it's a demon. I think that maybe she did have the personality disorder, and I think that the two that were there probably existed there all the time. But with everything that happened, it's kind of like the last line of the movie. When her whole situation happened, her brother and all that fun stuff, that's when Simon just kind of slipped in. Simon, I think, is just in everybody at some point in time. It's just how far are you willing to let Simon go? Whoa. I think that's where that Loki thing comes, because I think that's more of I was looking at that too. I actually had read that years ago whenever I was looking up like different, because I've always tried to like look at other people's point of view when it comes to this movie, because you can interpret this so many different ways. And I just remember thinking, that is a possibility, but I'm always just going to go with that. It was a demon. Somehow it got into her, and then now it's stuck in the asylum, which is now condos.
Oh gosh. It's wild. And yeah, listen to these tapes, man, that got me. I don't know what led me to this movie though. I had a weird calling for this movie, which, well, you know me, I watch everything when I was there. I mean, I was going to Tarzan and watching Disney because if you love film, you should watch everything. So I just heard about this little movie that got released in 2 theaters, and that was it. But I had a weird thing just saying, Mark, pay too much for this movie. And you got called at Hollywood Video to watch it. Kind of random, right?
Right. Just walking around and just being like, let's see what this is. But it's still one that I still push this movie on people. I'm like, just watch it. Just get past the slow pace of it and watch it.
Yeah. And just the chair, too, that he built the thing around the chair that he wanted right there. Oh, man. I do love that line, though. It should be the best. It should be the joy of his life. The daughter.
Yeah.
But I guess that guy has never had a kid who just cries 24/7.
I don't know if I could handle that, honestly. Yeah. I might be like Gordo. Sorry.
What was Gordo? So like what led Gordo? Just it seemed like there were other companies that were under. So Gordo did things right, correct? He would say, I will do it in 2 months for a high cost. But then there were companies that say, we'll do it in a month for half or a third. And so he was losing money and then not sleeping. And do you think that kind of led him to that? Do you think he had more going on?
I think it had a lot to do with strain financially from his job, strain of the kid, strain of his marriage, and it all just boiled up and it broke him. And
literally boiled.
Yeah, big time. Very good one. And then, by the time he gets to the asylum, he already knows that if he doesn't get this job, then he's done. His whole business will go under. It's going to tank. So he's standing in that moment, and which is a great scene, where he's just staring at that chair, and that's when Simon's all like, ooh, I got me a fresh one.
Yeah. Oh, man, stupid Simon and stupid Spooge Dust.
Yeah, right, stupid Spooge Dust.
But that's...
Apparently the Spooge Dust likes John, Tesh, and Janie, though, so...
That's ridiculous. I think it's so funny too, though, that he said that he was going to clean that place in a week. If I was taking bids and someone looked at me and said I could do this in a week, I'm like, get out of here. If someone said to me I could do this in 8 years, I'm like, okay,